Appreciate it. Hillary Clinton recently condemned the policies we've been talking about as horrific. That would surely come as news to the Hillary Clinton of just 15 years ago. In 2003, this is what Hillary Clinton said about the crisis on the border. Watch this.
I am, adamantly against illegal immigrants. Certainly, we've got to do more at our borders, and people have to stop employing illegal immigrants.
Huh. Nothing has changed since then, of course, except for her party's calculation that it could only win by importing a new class of voters, which they are trying their best to do. Mark Steyn is an author and a columnist, and he joins us tonight. Mark, I don't know if you were prepared, really, to take a lecture on the Bible from Hillary Clinton and Barbara Boxer and the rest, but do you feel edified as a Christian and an American by the new theocrats on the left?
It's interesting. I think they're being rather selective in their sudden biblical fervor. It's very important to the left to maintain this particular public policy, which is what it was, as you said at the top of the show. That's what immigration is. It's a public policy. Yet whenever it's treated as such, Hillary and the rest of the left, and I regret now an entire phalanx of first ladies, has decided that we have to have the sentimentalization of public policy. Well, which is it? This is a country that is supposedly on orange alert. Over half of the illegal aliens present broke into a country on orange alert. That is to say, they've come here since 9/11. Americans shuffle like a bovine herd through security that demands to know the consistency of their pumpkin pie if they're flying home to Thanksgiving from New York to Cleveland, but the rest of the world is entitled to walk across the Rio Grande if they happen to have a little moppet in tow with them. You can't have it both ways. Right now, Americans are living on orange alert if they make a domestic flight, but their borders are open. You're the chumps of the planet for going along with it. And I may be the harshest person here speaking tonight, because I know as a legal immigrant how heartless and ruthless the legal immigration bureaucracy in this country can be to children and the separation of families and all that. And these Democrats and Laura Bush never has a word to say about that.
What would happen if you showed up at the airport without a driver's license and said, look, I have a moral right to get on this plane and you're a racist for not letting me on? Would that work?
No, it wouldn't. I mean, we're bifurcating into a society where the law-abiding are subject to ever more onerous constraints, while the avowedly lawless are somehow venerated and fetishized. I will say, as a legal
But you've lived this. If I could just pause and say, you actually are foreign-born, and you have, without getting too personal, but you have a family. I mean, how has the immigration system treated your family?
Well, I'll tell you, I was crossing at Derby Line, Vermont one time. I won't go into all the details, but the rather officious twerp at the border threatened to call ICE and have my daughter deported. And he said then she'd be in Canada and you'd be stuck here in America. And I said I wouldn't be much of a father if I did that, because I'll tell you, 10 minutes after you deport her, I'll be back in whatever country you deport her to. Because if the price of being in America is that I have to be separated from my children, then I pass. And I am surprised, frankly. We're told these are just hard-working people are being snatched from the bosoms of their mothers. It's awful. It's heartbreaking. Why don't we just say at the border, well, you can't come in, but if you do, your children will be taken from you. And why don't these people then say, oh, well, I don't want to be separated from my children. Can I go back across the Rio Grande to the southern shore? This is the difference in treatment between the lawful and the lawless.
I can promise you're the only person on television today who's asked that question, and I'm glad that you did. Mark Steyn, thank you.
Thanks a lot, Tucker.